Hi, welcome to HPS, and today we are doing an install video for the HPS muffler on the Gen-4 850 Skidoo. But before we can install the HPS muffler, let's get to taking this beast of a stock muffler out of here. You will need a couple tools, a 10mm socket with a long extension, a spring hook, a 17mm wrench, a regular long Phillips screwdriver, and a 25 size Torx driver. We will start with the Torx driver. There are a total of 6 screws we need to remove the hood. They're located here on both sides, up below the compartment lid on both sides, here and here, and then underneath this cluster when we're able to remove that. So we'll start with these. These screws on both sides of the sled come with washers. You have to open the compartment lid to remove these screws. Once these 2 screws are removed, you will have to remove the instrument cluster, and you just do that by pulling up. They have rubber pegs that come out, and then there is a plug underneath the instrument cluster itself. You just put that aside. Underneath the instrument cluster there are 2 more Torx screws that you will have to remove. Remove the compartment by lifting it out. Once the compartment and instrument cluster are out, there are 3 more plugs. They are the lights and the airbox. You'll have to unplug them and move the plugs aside, put them up and away. Next, we will have to use the screwdriver, and that is to disconnect the rubber boot underneath the hood, right above the oil tank and the belt guard. There is a clamp that you have to loosen in order to remove the hood. And you do this with the long Phillips screwdriver. You can now pull off the hood. Here by the gas tank on both sides are guider clips, as well as up here. You just pull forward and lift up. Make sure that air box isn't grabbing, and the hood comes right off. We can now remove the stock muffler, and we do so by removing the heat shield on the stock muffler by pulling these pins, these clamps, and removing the 2 halves of the heat shield on the neck of the stock muffler. Then you will need your 10mm socket with the long extension, and behind the stock muffler there is a bolt and spring that you have to loosen and remove. Then you will need the spring hook puller to remove the 2 springs that attach the muffler to the pipe. The last thing you will need to do to remove the stock muffler is to remove the heat probe from the muffler, but you have to unplug the heat probe from the machine first because the heat probe is inaccessible. And then to remove, you just pull it out. There's a lock washer on the bolt of the temperature probe. You will have to bend down the ears in order to loosen it. I have already bent down the ears, so we can loosen it and remove the temperature probe. Keep the lock washer. We can use it on the HPS muffler. On the back side of the stock muffler, there are 3 rubber grommets. You will use 2 of them to install the HPS muffler. The top rubber grommet has an aluminum sleeve. You will want to use that as well. This is the HPS muffler for the Gen-4 850. A lot of thought was put into this muffler. There's a couple features that we have. For example, the web bracketry for maximum weight reduction and strength. The neck is designed just like the stock muffler so that you can use the stock heat shields on it. We don't think it's completely necessary because of the ceramic coating. The bung is a D shape so that you can use the stock lock washer to make sure that your probe doesn't ever loosen up on you. So to install the HPS muffler into the sled, you will need the 2 rubber grommets and the aluminum sleeve. Both rubber grommets go into the bracket supports of the muffler, and the aluminum sleeve goes into the rubber grommet on the top bracket. To install the HPS muffler, you will want to slide the bottom bracket of the muffler onto the peg of the chassis. Make sure that the graphite gasket is still on the pipe, and bring the pipe and the muffler together. Take that bolt and spring and place it through the aluminum sleeve on the top bracket of the HPS muffler. With a 10mm socket, tighten that bolt. Take the spring hook puller and put on the springs. When installing the temperature probe, we recommend putting some anti-seize on the threads. This will prevent the threads from galding and will set the threads securely into the bung. When you tighten the temperature probe, make sure that the large flat tab is tightly against the flat spot of the bung. Tighten the probe, nice and snug, don't over tighten. Take the tabs of the washer and bend them up on the flat sides of the hex on the bolts of the probe to prevent the probe from getting loose. Route the wire of the probe above the cross member of the chassis and plug it in to the wiring harness. After the HPS muffler is properly secured and installed on the sled, you can put the hood back on. When putting the hood back on, there are those guider clips that you have to make sure line up properly. You want to line up the front ones first, both sides, and then the back ones. And then you push back, and everything lines up. Put the 2 Torx screws in the top of your hood that are underneath the instrument cluster first. Make sure the 4 electrical plugs are plugged in, the 2 lights, the air box, and then the instrument cluster. Mesh the compartment box with the instrument cluster, and then push the plastic pegs into the rubber grommets and put in the Torx screws. Make sure the 2 screws with the washers are placed on the sides of the hood. Make sure the rubber boot on the air box under the hood above the oil tank and the clutch cover is properly secured and tightened. That is how you install the HPS muffler on the Gen-4 850. We are really excited about this muffler. A couple of the key specs that we have found are 9 pounds weight savings It comes on really strong in the mid-range with as much as 5 horsepower gains in the mid-range and 2 to 3 horsepower on the top. The new platinum ceramic coating is really good. It's rated for 2200 degrees, which is 900 degrees better than our previous coating. So you don't get any dulling or hot spots on the muffler, and it's really durable and lasts a long time. It protects the muffler really well. Be sure to check us out at teamhps.com as well as on Facebook at High Performance Sports Inc. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at teamhps. Check out our other YouTube videos for a sound clip. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the snow.